I don't think that there was any one defining moment. I think that happens like literally every day for me.
That's awesome.
Every day, like, and trust me, I have my shitty days too. Like some days I'm like, dude, F this.
I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Prestige Living Podcast. So with that, who do you want to be?
Hello, welcome to Prestige Living, your podcast that provides you with the stories and strategies among the entrepreneurs of Orange County. I'm your host, Jay O'Brien, here with your co-hosts, Jordan Wilson.
Hey.
And Amy O'Brien.
Hi.
Today, our guest is a serial entrepreneur in the foodie world. He's known for his establishments in Orange County that have boomed in popularity. The Alley in Newport Beach, Tabu Shabu in Costa Mesa, and his latest, The Wayfarer, also in Costa Mesa. We are very happy to have him on the show with us today, and without further ado, please welcome Jeffrey Cohn. Jeffrey, welcome to the show, man.
Hello.
So, dude, thanks for being on the show. You got three main places.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So tell us about how it all began, what were you doing beforehand, and what got you into that world?
Funny enough, I'm sitting in a real estate office, and this is what I was doing beforehand. I was working residential real estate.
What year?
This was 2002 to 2006.
Okay, during the heyday.
Got out while the getting was good.
Yeah, life was good back then. I was bartending and serving as well, and I was also in college, so that was beforehand. And then had the opportunity for the Alley, had a little bit of coin saved up, but, got my dad to help me out a little bit, so first purchase was the Alley. And I kind of always knew that I wanted to do restaurants. Restaurants have always been something that I've gravitated towards, food service and hospitality, and my dad was in the hotel business as well. Okay. So, it's kind of our background to be service-oriented. And, the Alley was the first purchase in 2007, or end of 2006. And then after a couple years of running that, in 2012, we opened up Tabu Shabu. First ground-up project. And that was an interesting experience, but luckily enough, it worked out. And then just about a year and a half ago, we decided to try it again with the Wayfarer, and that was another challenge that worked out okay.
Jeffrey, you said that in 2007 you started with the Alley. How were you even presented with an opportunity to buy a place?
Well, funny enough, is the listing broker was part of the same office group, same ownership. I was with Prudential Real Estate, and the listing broker was with Prudential in a different office. So it just came across my desk, and it was an opportunity that I wanted to kind of work my way out of doing real estate. I always loved being in the restaurant, but I hate being the grunt. You put a lot of hours in, and even restaurant management. It's a really undermined job. They work really long hours. It's sometimes very labor intensive, but there's no glory in it. Only it seems like the ownership or the guy with the bucks is the one that gets glorified for their position, when it's really the cogs in the wheel are the ones that are doing the hard work. So
it's kind of like a right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're buying a business, not just a building or anything that you're used to previously in real estate. So how does that work? It's all encompassing. So are you taking place in the valuation of the business?
Yeah. So it's scary as shit.
Right.
I can curse on this, right?
Yeah, you sure can.
Fuck yeah, you can.
All right. It's it is pretty scary, because you are buying something that's not real property. It's personal property.
Yep.
And you are buying trademarks and goodwill, essentially. So typically in the business, for restaurants particularly, it's usually 3 to 4 times your EBITDA. So,
yep.
But still, this is based on someone else's ownership or someone else's regime, and they could have run it a certain way. They could have been way more efficient than you could ever be on how they run it. So they're making, X amount, and you're buying this business for that amount. Or in your mind, which is probably the mindset of most people buying a business, they're like, well, shit, I can do it better. I can I can make 10 times more money than this guy's doing. He obviously doesn't care, or he's not doing this right. And
do you think that that's generally true, or do you think that that's kind of a fool's errand for someone to think that?
I feel like there's more experienced operators coming into the game these days.
So you think it's possible to buy up a business and actually make it better?
Absolutely.
Got it.
I think that's the whole foundation of the American dream, right? Is that
right.
Whatever you can do, you're always trying. I'm sure you're trying to be a better broker, better real estate guy than the next guy, than your dad's agent.
Right.
You're trying to be better. You're reinventing yourself and innovation. So,
and the reason I ask is because people always are buying up. Like, it doesn't really matter what it is. They're buying up and they're like, "I'll do it better," and then you see that one turn over, and you see it turn over,
and they fucked it up. Yeah.
And then they fucked it up too. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, it sticks. Like, there's a place off of Harbor and Adams, and it's a frozen yogurt place, and it was Golden Spoon, and then it was something else, then it was something else. They were all exact.
So like
same
Frostbites or something.
Yeah, Frostbites.
And it's all frozen yogurt, but the name changes.
And maybe somebody should try something different.
Yeah,
that's just my idea.
They never stick. Yeah,
and sometimes, and that's the tricky thing about the restaurant, bar, food service, frozen yogurt business is like, there's no formula to it. There's no like, this is the way to do it and you're going to do well. Whereas, real estate, there was a guideline on what you do. You choose a farm and you work your farm, or you door knock, or you cold call. You can do a million things that are kind of prescribed methods that have worked in the past. And if you put enough hours in it, they teach you it will work. It will work to some degree, maybe not as effectively as you can spend your time. And I'm sure the more successful you become, the more effectively you learn how to spend that time. But in the restaurant business, it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot. You do your best educated guess, and with that specific spot, maybe the spot's just cursed. Maybe it's not ever meant to succeed. If there's a place next door that does really well, then that's a hard-pressed argument. And so maybe they're just not the right concept. Maybe people around there don't want frozen yogurt.
So how long was your learning curve? Like, because you went from bartending and serving, front of the house, to ownership. Did you have a long period of, I had no idea?
I'm still learning. There's still a bunch of shit that comes across my plate. I'm like, I don't know what to do here, And then, luckily, then you have different specialties that people, achieved in their life that you ask their advice. Like
surround yourself with a good team, or
Well, I do look to my employees for a lot of guidance too, because they're if this is war. If business is war, which it is, your employees are your front line. They're your grunts, they're your soldiers. And they're the guys that you want to talk to.
I had a lot of experience in the hospitality and the restaurant business myself, and I always respected the owners and the managers more that had gone through it before, and then even valued the opinion of their employees.
It's a big working machine. So absolutely. I think the best ownership are the ones that are involved, that know every aspect of their business, and they should. It's their business. If you're a manufacturer of widgets and you don't know what the hell a widget is, then you got a problem.
Right.
And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people that jump into the restaurant game are sometimes just big foodies, or love cooking in their kitchen, and they're like, shit, I gotta do this for a living. It's like, dude, it's nothing like that. The business is nothing like that.
So when you purchased the alley, how important to you was it to either hang on to the previous culture, or were you trying to make it more into something your own?
You know what? Minus Tabu Shabu, with both Wayfarer and the alley, it was like, that was the $1 million question, right? Like, what do you do? Do you take something that's... the alley was successful prior. It was a pretty popular bar. It didn't really do very good for food, but very popular bar, and a lot of people knew about it and stuff. So it's like, well, do you want to completely gut it and tear it down and make it look completely different and freak people out and say, hey, this is the new alley? Or do I want to kind of run it and see how it goes, and then maybe
hang on to your regulars?
Yeah. And I chose, option B, and I did just kind of leave it the way it is. I made my own improvements inside and out, both operationally and physically, in order to kind of be in tune with what I wanted. And I did that over time, though, very progressively, slowly, and it was more successful that way. I think we held on to a lot of the core group we wanted, and developed on top of that. So that's the way we're, improving the business, versus like, oh, let's shut it down, and then start off from scratch. So I didn't buy it for scratch. I didn't buy it for zero. Right. It's when you take over a lease, you kind of have that opportunity where it's like, oh, well, it's mine. I can figure it out. But when you're buying something, you paid the goodwill value for what that is already doing.
So mention that acronym. Elaborate on the acronym. You had mentioned the 3 to 4 times the variable amount for the valuation. What does that acronym stand for?
EBITDA?
Yes.
It's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation.
Okay.
Am I missing an A, I think, somewhere in there?
Maybe.
Assets, it's something. Basically,
I
it's the money that comes out of the business.
Yeah, so when businesses are valued, and especially in a case like that, was that set by the seller and they're soliciting out trying to find a buyer, or were you very much involved in that process, like kind of coming up with that common number together?
Oh no, usually by the time it hits a broker or an agent or business broker, they've come up to that. They've figured out what they want for it.
Got it.
And sometimes it's not even close to what that earnings number is. Sometimes they're like, dude, yeah, we make $100,000 a year, so by my thinking, it'd be $300,000 to $400,000 for that business. But sometimes they'll be like, "No, I want $1 million for it. I think it's worth $1 million." And it's up to them. It's like if I own this water bottle and was like, "Well, to me, it's worth $30. To you, is 25 cents, but for me, it's $30. So I want $30 for it." And maybe they'll get somebody to spend $30 because maybe that person will say, "Hey, I'll turn that water bottle into a water purification plant."
Yeah.
Or so, it's
there's a lot of intangibles to the whole thing too, because you can break it down for dollars and cents on paper and say this is how much we bring in every year, but because we've been in business for 15 years and we're the only ones in Newport Beach on this corner that have ever made it for 15 years, there's value in that, and there's value in the culture and stuff that you can't necessarily quantify. So I'd imagine that would be quite difficult.
I mean, Wayfarer was a perfect example of that. Wayfarer, we took over a previously existing business called the Detroit Bar.
Yep, very familiar with Detroit Bar.
Detroit Bar had its heyday, and it had great shows there, and had a good reputation. And obviously, as most things do, they sometimes start to trail off and not do as well as they did before. So we picked it up, and I didn't. The money that we put into it wasn't based on what we were just talking about. It wasn't triple the EBITDA or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was literally purely the assets of the business, which is A, their leasehold, and B, whatever the stuff they had inside, which, most of it left anyway. But they have licensing. They have a hard liquor license with no restrictions, and an entertainment permit with no restrictions and things like that. Those are
valuable.
Those are valuable, but they don't actually have a dollar amount assigned to them. It's not like, hey, entertainment permit X goes for this. And there are people that make a determination of how much a liquor license is in a specific area, but it's something that changes from day to day too.
And the Wayfarer is one that you actually did kind of give a makeover. It looks different than the Detroit Bar.
I took the other route on that one. I was like, hey, we're going to lose some Detroit people, and people are going to be like, oh, this isn't Detroit. So that was concerning, because Detroit did have a good reputation, but it's like, at the same time, it's like you have to go with your gut. Like, is it better to keep it, or is it better to go a completely different way? And we didn't necessarily go a completely different way, but it definitely needed a kick in the ass. Like, hey, this is different. This
Something
is not
fresh.
This is not Detroit Bar, And we did pay homage to kind of like the old Detroit Bar by renaming our stage the Detroit Stage. Kind of as respect to them. And what's funny is I thought that was going to be huge, and a couple people did pick up on it in the beginning, but after 4 months you don't hear it anymore. And it used to be, I'd listen to customers when they're on their phone or they're outside on the patio smoking, and then they're at a show and they're like, oh, where are you? Oh, I'm at the old Detroit, or I'm at Detroit, and that was happening for the first probably 4 or 5 months. I don't hear that at all anymore. Oh, I'm at the Wayfarer.
It's almost like you had to prove yourself.
It's like,
to everybody.
Yeah, we have our own identity now.
Right.
We're no longer, in someone else's shadow, which is eventually what we wanted to do, obviously. Nobody wants to be what they were formerly known as.
Right.
So.
Unless you're Prince.
So,
that's true.
Or the pond.
Yeah, or the pond.
So the 3 businesses that you own, which strategy was your favorite? Did you like kind of taking on the alley, hanging onto that culture, starting something from the ground up, or then kind of reinventing Detroit into the Wayfarer?
That's a good question. That's a damn good question. I'd probably say my absolute favorite was probably Tabu.
Really?
Yeah,
Why?
ground up was really fun.
Talk about that. Talk about that whole startup and everything.
It's just that was kind of something I had in my head for a while. I had this concept, and I was like, and obviously guys have done really well with it. Leonard with California Shabu Shabu did a phenomenal job, and I loved how he brought that kind of moving away from the very traditional Asian cuisine, like has to be non-English speaking, employees, and he made it, and he put the spin on it, and made it hipper and cooler, and made it much more mainstream, and was successful in doing that. And so I love that idea. I wanted to kind of implement a little bit more beach culture into our concept, a little bit more East Side, Costa Mesa, Newport Heights, and beach vibe, and so taking the inspiration from other people, I got this idea, and being able to see it come to life was really the fun part. Whereas opposed to, this was somebody else's. I made it better. I did my thing, and it's cool now. But, there's something different when you're like, hey, this was nothing before. Like that space was a comic book store.
It's yours.
It's like, that's mine. Like, I made it. I drywalled it. I made it look exactly the way it's supposed to look. And conceptually and idea-wise, it's the way I wanted it to be too. So it's like it's pretty cool. And then to not lose money doing that is pretty awesome. Like a painter paints a picture and like may not sell, but they're still like, oh, I painted this picture. But when you're like, oh, I painted this picture, and I got $1 million for it. It's like shit. I won twice. I not only created this, I made some coin off of it. So.
Right.
So kind of a follow-up to Amy's question about the 3 different challenges that you face with each of your places. At what point after you take over the alley do you go, or do you feel, okay, now I'm ready for number 2? And then after number 2, do you go, I'm just not quite busy enough, let's do number 3? Like,
that's another phenomenal question.
Like, how do you know? Is you just feel like you're ready to try something else? Like, do you just...
You never know.
You never know.
You never know. Just like buying a house, right? Which I'm in the process of doing right now. I'm in escrow on a house, and
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just signed my escrow documents and dropped them off.
Oh, very exciting.
Thank you. But it's my first home purchase, so it's like, when do you really know that was the right house purchase? How many you guys work in the business? How many guys are like? I'm sure people are stoked that they're doing what they're doing, but at the same time, how many people are like, I'm 100% sure that this was not the wrong way to go. Never. I think I got a great deal on the house that I bought, that I'm in works on now. But at the same time, there's never that 100%. So same thing with going on to the second one. Obviously, it's a different comparison, but you're never really sure. You're never really sure, should I do it? Actually, we're in works right now with 4 and 5, restaurants 4 and 5. And it's like...
How do you delegate your time between the 3?
That's
and now
I don't.
Impossible.
My time delegation sucks. And,
I was going to ask, what does a typical day look like for you?
Is
Do
it
you
putting out fires, or is it
just driving around, going from place to place, and putting out fires, and
having good management in place?
Yeah, we do have fantastic management at all my locations, and but still, I kind of, and this is my problem. I guess it's the problem with any serial entrepreneur, is that, it's so weird. They teach you as an entrepreneur, you got to do everything yourself. You want this to happen, you got to work your ass off at it, or you got to do this. They teach you this. This is the methodology of entrepreneurialism. Is like, hey, whatever you want to do, you better work your ass off at it and get it done, right? But then at some point, when you become multiple location, when you become bigger and stronger as an entity, it's like, oh, well, now you got to learn how to give that up.
Yep.
And stop doing everything yourself, and now
delegate
and enjoy it a little bit too.
Yeah, they teach you that. So it's like you're telling me to go opposite directions. If there was a book on how to be successful as an entrepreneur, it's like, dude, well, chapter 1 was do this, and chapter 20 is completely the opposite. So that's been, I would say, my biggest challenge, hands down, is relinquishing control.
Are you able to unplug a little bit? Like, when's the last time you went on a vacation?
I don't know the definition of that word.
Okay.
I mean, don't
what
get me wrong.
was the last time you were hammered?
Whole different thing.
Every night.
Obviously, my work ties into that closely. Which actually, another little, I haven't drank in 27 days.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm on a little cleanse, so.
Like 27 hours
definitely an accomplishment.
Yeah, no, for me, it's actually a huge accomplishment, so I'm glad I did it. But
the owner of 3 liquor selling establishments.
Yeah, we don't do vacation. It's not our business. Unfortunately, we're a 24-hour business. Even if we're not open 24 hours, we're 24 hours. We have to plan for the next day, and every day is brand new. Whereas manufacturing, sometimes you get an order, you make X amount of widgets and you send them out. Boom, you're waiting till the next order or whatever happens, or there's in between times. In restaurants, we don't get a break. We just got to keep going.
So you've got 3 restaurants now. You said you're opening up 4 and 5, which I want to get into that in a minute. When you look at your restaurants, do you see them as almost like a portfolio of assets where you've got, I would imagine they all perform probably a little bit differently. They've got different demographics. Like maybe there's a concept that, maybe like a creative concept that you could definitely try in one, but it would never work in another.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at it, like, is there like the passion project and then there's like the revenue generator, and just like any other portfolio, it kind of balances out because you need your money from this one, but this one's more of like a passion one? Or is there anything like that you think about?
Well, hopefully if anybody's in this business, they should all be somewhat a passion. Nothing should ever be looked at as, if it's people that are looking at this business as more asset driven, I think it's not an illogical way to look at things, because I think sometimes people fail because they don't see that side. Like you do have to look at it as assets.
There is the starving artist side of it.
You do have to look at the financial. We are in this business to make money, but it's like almost that perfect merging of the two, of passion and
you have to have heart in it.
Because the consumer can feel when there's not the passion.
Absolutely. And that's fine if you own a chain of McDonald's.
Yeah.
You don't have to have passion for a Big Mac, dude. That Big Mac has X profitability, and that's, you want to sell X Big Macs, know? So but when you're trying to open up your own restaurants, and especially when they're independent concepts, they're not chain restaurants, it becomes more than just dollars and cents. And they all are different, but all of them have a different level, have a different part of my heart, I guess. And 4 and 5 will also have a different part of my heart. And profitability wise, obviously some do better than the others, but I try to look at it as one overall thing. If one failed, I would look at it as a failure to the whole thing. So
let's talk about 4 and 5 then.
Okay.
What can you tell us?
Not much. It's a little confidential.
Okay.
5 will probably not be as much my own operation. It will be a licensing agreement that we have for Tabu Shabu. So expect another Tabu Shabu location popping up sometime pretty soon.
Cool.
I will have my hand in it, but it's not going to be mine. So little different approach, mainly because at this point my time is becoming limited. The concept that I'm working on right now for mine is in Eastside Costa Mesa, very close to all the other locations, and it's going to be food primary concept, Asian food primary concept, but also fun, very cutting edge, kind of inventive, kind of outside the box, not like an uncommon food, but something a little bit outside the box.
That's exciting.
Do you have an estimated date as to when you think that'll be open?
I'd say probably about after construction, say a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, a year and a half from now.
Cool.
Year to year and a half.
Is that a complete build out?
It will be. It'll be a ground up. So we're working on lease negotiation right now, and hopefully once that gets all squared away, we'll be able to start gutting, making plans, and that's the fun part.
I was just going to say, do you like that part, the design aspect?
I freaking love it. I would have been like a spec home builder if I had more cash. If I had more cash and like I was better at construction aspect, but yeah, it's so much fun. It's like, as a hobby, I do a lot of woodworking. It's kind of like that, when you get pieces of lumber from wherever and you have it and it's sitting there and it looks like shit, and then you put these pieces together and all of a sudden it looks like this, and then you stain it and you're like, oh shit, I made this. And it's kind of the same way for me with the rest, but it's even cooler.
So with the Tabu Shabu one, do you think, since number 5 is like a licensing model, do you foresee that one growing in the future as like a franchise operation or licensing multiple locations?
It's not really clear where we want to go with it yet. I don't know. I think that Tabu Shabu could definitely be expanded to more locations. We played with the idea of maybe doing it, ourselves and just expanding it ourselves. But this next one we licensed just because on my plate I have this next concept that I want to do. So if it turns out that it's successful, 3 or 4 might be shortly behind it, and then I don't know, maybe 100 sometime before I'm dead.
Wow. And actually, my next question was going to be, you've accomplished so much at such a young age.
Thank you.
And it sounds like, obviously, you have a lot of pride in every project, and there's a lot of rewarding moments. But has there been a moment that really stands out in your mind as kind of that moment where you said, wow, like, I'm glad I made that leap. I'm glad I followed my heart and did what I wanted to do, and this was all worth it?
I don't think that there was any one defining moment. I think that happens, like, literally every day.
That's awesome.
Every day, like, and trust me, I have my shitty days too. Like, some days I'm like, dude, F this.
Right.
Why am I in this business?
Totally.
Like, I these people are drunks, and gluttons, and like, I hate everybody. And then,
last time I was at the alley,
I'm thinking, like, I think 90% of the time I see him.
No, but, and shitty part about it is that a lot of that stuff carries off into your personal life too.
Sure.
I come home to my girlfriend, and I'm not the same person I was when I walked out the door that morning.
Right.
I'm a little bit more jaded, a little bit angrier, and I think the vacation thing that you brought up, I think that stuff like that's important. And even if they're, I don't necessarily take vacations, but I do take a day off here and there, and maybe take a 2-day here, and and I haven't had more than probably 3 days in, I can't remember, but even the 1 or 2 days does totally help. Like for my birthday, I went to Catalina for the day, and having a couple drinks and just getting your mind outside of that zone, you come back and you're refreshed and you can deal with it again. But in terms of the accomplishment feeling, I guess I get that every day. I really do.
That's so great. I think we can all relate to that too. I mean, we don't have a schedule, we're working around the clock, but when you love what you do, it really makes every day exciting and rewarding. Absolutely. And it is hard to separate yourself, but we all have to make sure we do that and take some time for us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the things we mention a lot on the show too. I mean, this show showcases entrepreneurs in Orange County, and obviously, like how you had mentioned with chapter 1 of the book on being an entrepreneur, it's like go, do it all yourself 24/7. And I mean, in order for your businesses to be sustainable, there gets to be a point where you got to delegate, and you've got to be able to unplug every once in a while, and not just like go on a day vacation and check your phone when people need you, but like literally never check your phone, like to really feel rejuvenated and get back into it. Otherwise, you burn out, just like in our industry.
Yeah.
And it's just so important, because the people listening to this show, I think a lot of the people run businesses themselves and want to know how other people have done it, and then other people are on the complete opposite side. They've never done it, and they just think like, well, how is it done? Yeah. So I always think that that's an important balance. I remember hearing Josh Altman speak one time. He was that realtor from $1 Million Listing, and he was like, one of the things of advice that he gave that I just could not disagree with more was was like, in this business you got to be 24/7 all the time. You never stop. And I'm just like, dude, I think that's just bad advice for people. Like, there's one side of like hustling, you got to hustle your ass off. But if you really want to be good, like, you've got to learn. I think that in our day and age,
that's bullshit. I mean,
totally.
It's an impossibility.
It is an impossibility.
24/7. If you were on 24/7, you become a sociopathic lunatic, which you'd be American Psycho.
Yeah.
Ooh, bro.
You really would be.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the 24/7 thing, it's like there's an element of time management to professionalism as well.
Absolutely.
And when you lack that, pretty soon your business is going to feel that. And like when you walk into one of your restaurants, if you came in and it was written all over your face that you're stressed out, that's going to impact the employee's day too, like in a negative way, and the consumer. So it's like something to always be mindful of.
Well, being a successful business person, no matter what the business, I think is an aspect of being a successful human being. And being a successful human being is maintaining all the other things in your life that make you human. And it's not just money or success that makes you human. I mean, obviously, those are things we strive for, but, family, friends, love, all those things are things that we tend to negate when we're so focused on making that dollar bill.
Right.
I love that.
Well said.
I mean, how many people do you know that made the dollar bill and are fucking miserable?
Yep. Plenty of people.
Plenty of people. You follow and watch E. I mean, you see all of them. You know?
Look at Jordan.
Oh man, I'm waiting on everything. The money and the love.
Yeah. But they're miserable. I mean, if you're given X amount of eggs in your life, right, and you have these baskets that you have to put your eggs in these baskets, and each represents love, life, friendships, and sex and all these things, and you're putting all these eggs in different baskets.
I know where Jordan would put his eggs.
Every single one.
Let's keep picking on the rest of the show.
Every single one.
I think that just people tend to forget that you really need to balance out those eggs, and you can't put them all in one basket. And being a successful human being is more important than being a successful entrepreneur. Is more successful than being successful anything. It's being a success at life. And your own life, it's too short to fuck that up,
Yep,
So.
I agree.
So what are some of your favorite places to eat in Orange County?
Oh God, I knew that question was going to come up, and that's hard. I love everything so much, but this isn't a stereotype about myself, but I have an affinity for Asian food, and noodles specifically. Like I love...
For those listening, Jeff is Asian.
Yeah, yeah. I know you can't see me, but yeah, I think I would have liked it either way. No matter what I was born, I think I still would have gone for the Asian food. I love Anjin. If you've ever been there, it's on Bristol and Paul Reno. I get down on that all the time.
Yep.
I love sushi. Sushi's big.
Where's your sushi spot?
Well, the one right next to my house. There's a place called Sushi Shunka on 17th. It's right next to Plums.
Oh, yeah.
It's legit.
Never been there, actually.
Oh, it's
haven't
legit.
either.
Well, boom. Look at that.
That's it.
I gave him 3 customers right there.
This show has become well worth it just for that one recommendation.
Boom. So I go everywhere. I mean, I'll be honest, I eat everything there is. I'm actually, once I leave here, I want to try that the halal guys that just opened up.
I've been hearing all about that.
Dude, I drove by on the grand opening day. The line was around the block.
think a
one of
couple
the
people
agents
in
in our
this office
office went there, and he said it's all like the line was long.
Did he get it?
Yeah, he got it.
And he works for you guys?
Yeah, he works in our office.
I'd fire his ass, dude. He spent probably 2 hours in that line.
I mean, I don't want to say his
that's
name.
time spent that could be making money.
I heard him.
You're
him.
absolutely right.
Yes.
It sounded good. I mean, I could hear him eating from across the office.
Yeah.
Oh, now I know exactly what it is.
Me too.
So wrapping up, Jeff, these three businesses, like, is there anything for the people who have not yet been to either of these? Is there anything like an elevator pitch? Oh, you should definitely check these out. Here's why. It's
Signature
different.
items.
Yeah, signature items. Anything that you recommend?
You should check out all of them. First off, let's go ahead and say that.
So we've got the Alley, we've got Tabu Shabu, and we've got the Wayfarer.
Yes, all are so different in concept that it's sometimes hard to manage, but pretty awesome. The Alley, old school. A lot of people call it Cheers. The bartenders, the bar, everybody is very local. But our food is fantastic. It's very traditional style home cooking. Everything's made in-house from scratch. And we have pretty great deals, actually. We have daily specials. We have, the baby back ribs on Monday, which do really well. It's $12, 2 sides. And then, we have steaks and stuff that people underestimate, since we are that like local neighborhood dive bar grill, they're like, oh, that food must be weird, or it's like
your brunch is killer.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Or it's like a sizzler, it's like, it's not, dude. The food
is very good there.
It's legit food. We do a tomahawk steak from Double R Ranch, which is a ranch out of Washington. It's a really good cut of meat. It's prime grade, and it's inexpensive in comparison to a steakhouse.
Okay.
Tabu is fun. It's, playing a little bit with your food. It's Asian style fondue. Great date spot. Always busy at night, and it's kind of cool scene to see all the people there. And then Wayfarer, obviously, live entertainment venue, big scale, different shows every night. The musical variety is all across the board. So all have fun little things. You could really do all 3 in one night, actually. That'd be kind of cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So
when people want to look for you guys on Instagram, or are you on Facebook?
We are.
What's the Instagram handle for the Alley?
For the Alley, it's Alley NB. And then for Tabu Shabu, it's Tabu Shabu. And then for the Wayfarer, it's Wayfarer CM.
Okay. Do you guys have anything else?
No?
Okay, so
Good.
again, that's Jeff Cohn. We've got the Alley Instagram handle, ALLEYNB for Newport Beach. We've got at Tabu Shabu and at Wayfarer CM. Go check out all 3 in one night per Jeff's recommendation.
Or no, spread it out too. Spread it out.
Spread it out over an entire day. Maybe start with the brunch in the alley
There
and
you
then
go.
carry it throughout the whole day. Well, thanks so much for being on the show, Jeff.
Absolutely.
We appreciate
So
it, man.
much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would like to be on the Prestige Living podcast or know someone that would be a great guest, go to www.prestigelivingpodcast.com. We'd love to hear your story.